Hi, my name is Sarah Forsman, and I am the host of It's a Rare Story. This podcast was really birthed out of my own rare story. I was born with alpha mannosidosis. Not many have heard of this disease because it's ultra rare. And so I had the idea of starting a podcast where other people could share their stories. And I was like, I didn't know who I was going to interview. I didn't know who I was going to do the podcast for, as in like who my listeners would be. I had no idea of all of these different things. And so I've had this idea of having It's a Rare Story on my mind for almost a year. And it's been a journey of not knowing where we were going to go, where we were going to start. I didn't even know anything about podcasting, to be quite honest. Almost a year later, and we are starting this podcast. And I have more of a clear vision on who I'm going to be interviewing, who this is for. And so It's a Rare Story is for the listener of, oh my goodness, I just got this diagnosis for myself or for my child, and I don't know what to do because I feel like my life is going to be completely different. Your life may be completely different. It might be filled with things that you never even thought you would have to go through. But this is where It's a Rare Story comes into play. A diagnosis is not the end of the journey. Your journey is going to continue, but it might not look the same as your life used to. And that is simply okay. And of course, there's going to be a time that you have to process and go through all of the different emotions that may come about. But your life still continues. And it's going to be okay. And so It's a Rare Story. We're going to be interviewing people who have been diagnosed with a rare disease or even a disability. I don't want to limit the people who can be on this podcast because at the end of the day, we all have very unique situations. My life does not look the same as my neighbor. My life doesn't look the same as my friends. All of our lives are different. And all of our lives are so rare to ourselves. Like, our lives, they're so rare that each of us could write a book. Like, at the end of the day, we can all just share about the rarities of life. And so, this podcast, you will find different stories of people who have different rare diseases or even disabilities. And it is in my hope that this podcast brings something new to the space, that it brings hope, that it's okay that you received a diagnosis or your child did. And that at the end of the day, you may not know exactly how life will be, but just know that it's going to be okay. And so, if you yourself have a rare disease or even a disability, reach out to itsararestory@gmail.com, and we'd be more than happy to have you on the show. You're just stumbling upon this podcast and you want to just continue to hear all of these amazing stories. Give us a subscribe so that you don't miss any of the episodes. Our goal is to have at least 2 episodes per month. most likely would be a bi-weekly schedule. I've never done a podcast before, and so I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. But at the end of the day, I really just want to work on getting these stories out. Maybe one time we'll go to an episode a week, but for now, we're gonna just do bi-weekly, where there would be an episode every other week, and maybe more in the future. Never know, you never know. And so, podcasts in the future will consist of people that I have met personally at different events. My story will also be included. And then it'll just also be a recommendation process of the people that I interview. Who should I interview next? I'm excited for this journey, and I hope you are too. Give us a subscribe and make sure to follow us on all the socials.